Heather Moore is from Moore Family Farms, a dairy and creamery in eastern Iowa.
So we're fairly new. We have only been making cheese for like 2.5 years.
Moore Family Farms entered the Iowa Quality Dairy Products Competition this year, part of the Iowa State Fair.
We entered 3 varieties of cheese curds, our regular, our loaded baked potato, and our cucumber dill.
The quintessential Midwestern treat, cheese curds, is one of the most competitive categories. Moore hopes to get feedback from the judges to learn more about how to improve her curds.
Our community is so supportive that sometimes we don't hear what's wrong or what could be improved. So we like to enter contests so that we can get like the good, the bad, and the ugly about our cheese.
But of course, she wouldn't mind winning.
So we were second, I think, last year. So, if you only go up, but it would be cool if we could win someday.
I'm Beth Hoffman, food journalist, author, and farmer, and this is At the Iowa Farm Table, a podcast where we look at what does and does not work in the food system, from our perspective here in Iowa. This podcast is a production of the Iowa Food System Coalition, a group of more than 50 organizations working to make Iowa healthier, just, and more sustainable. The Iowa Quality Dairy Products Competition is one of the agricultural contests, along with livestock, fruits and vegetables, even wine, that's showcased at the Iowa State Fair.
So what's going to happen is we are going to do this in flights. They will be labeled both on the lid and on the bottom of the cup in case you're like me and forget what it is.
Danielle Christofferson is the production manager at the Iowa State Creamery, which is in charge of the contest.
Cow cheese, you have some different ones compared to the other people. Goat cheese, you'll also see on yours that you have like pasty, weak, short. But
the judging was done at Iowa State University the week before the state fair in the Food Sciences building.
Ready, set, taste.
There were 4 groups, each with 2 or 3 judges. One was in charge of ice cream, another goat cheese, another cow's milk, which includes cheese curds, and a group judged dairy beverages and cultured products.
I'm not a big fan of milk, actually, so I guess we're going to find out. But I do love yogurt. I love cooking with yogurt.
That's Nathan.
I'm a stay-at-home cat dad.
He was in a group with Deanna, an administrative assistant in the chemistry department.
I love dairy. I love cheese.
Dairy is a fascinating industry in Iowa. Recently, the state has moved into the top 10 dairy-producing states in the nation. Some big companies like Daisy Brand have announced plans to move to the state.
And Iowa actually has grown quite a bit in dairy in recent years. Can you think of why?
I'm thinking because we have a lot of feed.
Stephanie Clark is an Iowa State University emeritus professor of food science and human nutrition. She now works with the American Dairy Products Institute.
Exactly the answer, yes. You're the source of feed. So bring the animals to the feed rather than bring the feed to the animals.
She says that Iowa's abundant corn, soybeans, and water make it an attractive place for companies that need to feed large herds of cattle, which could be good for Iowa, bringing jobs and encouraging more farmers to diversify what they grow. But that kind of growth can also bring more confinement facilities to the state, more manure, and more polluted rivers if we're not careful about how it's done. But the other end of the spectrum is growing too in Iowa. Small dairies and creameries, like Moore Family Farms, have been developing more products in recent years. Clark says those dairies can be profitable, but they need to find their niche markets.
It is essential that they distinguish themselves because they have a different clientele than the people who want the $1.47 a package of 8-ounce sliced cheese. You are a different niche. You cannot play that same game.
But getting out in front of the public can be tricky for a small local brand. So, Clark says, she decided to start the contest 11 years ago when she realized the public was not familiar with Iowa's smaller creameries.
So I would go a couple times to the fair just to make sure that everything was looking good still. Nothing got moldy, nothing fell over. And I would hear people saying, oh, I didn't know that was made in Iowa. Or, oh, those are all Iowa products? Oh, I didn't know they had so much dairy in Iowa.
The competition now highlights the best of these products in some prime Iowa State Fair real estate, wedged between the Butter Cow
Next to the Butter Cow.
and the Egg Council booth, which, on a side note, gave out almost 173,000 boiled eggs on a stick in 2024.
Entering their products into the Iowa State Fair is a good idea because it can improve their exposure because so many people do go to see that Butter Cow.
Back at the judging, Nathan, Deanna, and about 10 other people scooped and squished and tasted their numbered dairy samples.
I don't find it appealing at all. Do you? I don't know.
I think it's quite pleasant, actually.
You liked it?
Yeah.
Maybe I need to try more cheese.
Christofferson says that the point of the competition is to have regular customers give the dairies feedback as to what might do well in the marketplace.
People are worried about doing a good job and whatnot and doing right by the producers. I tell them since it is going to be on display at the fair, and the fair is for consumers, it's for the everyday person. Their opinion is important because that is also what's important to these producers. They want to sell something that the average Joe likes.
For me, it's either 45 or 41.
It's going to be 45 for me.
Yeah.
Because 41's a little bit too, the appearance of it's too sterile looking.
46. There was a coconut in the background.
The nuttiness too at the
And
end.
I thought, that's not supposed to be there.
Heather Moore's cheese curds were judged with 9 others for their appearance, aroma, body, texture, and flavor. Although arguably, it's the essential cheese curd squeak, or lack thereof, that will determine the winner.
The cheese curds were very hard to decide which one was the best because they were all really good and squeaky.
There was some squeak on a few of them, not all, but yeah, the squeak was pretty good.
Oh, for it to be a good cheese curd, it's got to have a good squeak. It's got to have a good squeak. Your whole mouth just kind of vibrates, and it's like a little mouse squeaking inside of the back of your throat.
At the end of the day of judging, Christofferson also had the groups pick one overall winner. Scores were tallied, and they were ready for the awards at the start of the fair. A tiny crowd gathered at the cattle barn at the Iowa State Fairgrounds before the fair officially opened to the public. The Iowa Quality Dairy Product Showcase winners were to be announced just before the Dairy Princess competition. Heather Moore and several other of the entrants waited in the bleachers as Christofferson stepped into the ring to announce the winners.
If you hear your creamery, if you want to go ahead and just stand up so we can applaud you. If you're shy, that's okay too. You don't have to.
She announced the categories one by one.
So for cultured products, third place, we have Kemp's French Onion Dip. Second place is Hinterland Dairy Garlic and Herb Quark. And then first place is also Hinterland Dairy with their original quark.
And then she got to the cheese curds.
For cheese curds, in third place, we have WW Homestead Pizza White Cheddar Cheese Curds. Second place, Hinterland Dairy Original Cheddar Cheese Curds. And then in first place, we have WW Homestead White Cheddar Cheese Curds.
Moore Family Farms did not win, not this year, but they hope to use the contest to get better and better at their craft.
Not quite what we were hoping for, but it's all about that feedback. So those judges' scores are really valuable to us. And if you're going to compete, you want to compete against the best. And WW Homestead and Hinterland are definitely the best, and we are extremely happy for them.
When you drive around Iowa and see all the fields of corn and soybeans, it's easy to forget about everything else that's grown here. The little guys raising goats or tomatoes, the flower farms and the small dairies and creameries. The Iowa State Fair is a place to remember the state's heritage. Along with fried food and the giant pork producers' tents, there's thousands of small producers showing their prize-winning cattle or sheep, pumpkins or grapes, or cheese. So as you gnaw on that turkey leg or drink that lemonade and wander around the fair this year, Think not only of Iowa's past, but of our future. What kind of agricultural future do we want to cultivate in this state? How do we nurture more of the small, the squeaky, the deeply local? How do we celebrate and support the smaller scale producers throughout the year? Before we wrap up, who won the other dairy competitions? You can read the full list in our show notes and see them at the fair. But the overall best dairy product?
Our best in show was decided amongst all of our judges to be Country View Dairy Muddy Buddy Frozen Yogurt.
Very special thanks this week to Danielle Christofferson, who went way out of her way to accommodate us. Stephanie Clark, Heather Moore, and the judges at ISU. Thank you. Go to our Substack page to see photos of the judging, the awards, and the display next to the butter cow at the state fair. Mallory DeVries edited this show, and Megan Holleran did videos and photography. I'm Beth Hoffman with the Iowa Food System Coalition. Thanks for listening.